Hello everybody, Doug here from 2 Plus Stuff. I'm just hanging out here at my desk painting table here this wonderful Sunday. And let me make sure everything works here. It's been a little strange today. What I got on my painting table is a bunch of Paladin Enforcers from Necromunda, as well as a super cool hero from the game Conquest. He is a demon pirate turtle. We'll get there in a second. And now I'm going to switch down to the downward cam. We're just going to jump right in today because, quite frankly, you know, not a whole lot going on. We're waiting on Super Bowl to start. I myself am not a sports person, but, you know, people like it. So, we got here, this is Waco, I can never remember the full name, but he's a named character, alternate sculpt for Conquest, came in the most recent of their narrative boxes. See, very cool guy. I mean, my autofocus is really struggling with him being primed. There we go. So, yes, wonderful looking mini. Absolutely love him. I'm just going to start putting on some base colors today. And then over here, this gaggle is my Necromunda campaign boys. And I'm doing the Paladin Enforcers just to do something different. And I have this, which all came pre-built from a previous owner, and then 3 gangers that I'm going to use Chaos Cultist for. I'm doing a Bad Zone gang. So, point being, I can kind of use a bunch of chaosy bits, make them look a little gross and all that kind of stuff, and it totally works. What I'm going to be doing is jumping into these. If you have anything you would like to discuss hobby-wise, please throw it in the chat. Otherwise, I'm just going to ramble to myself. Although I have Necromunda and Conquest on the table, the thing I kind of want to talk about is some Tzeentch goodness. So, those of you who don't know, the Disciples of Tzeentch Battle Tome, as well as, I believe, the Lumineth one, both went on pre-order today, or yesterday, rather. I'm very excited for these books. I think they're pretty cool. I didn't spend as much time with the Lumineth one just because I kind of have to digest one book at a time. I'm not someone who can zip between the two of them and kind of, you know, parse out information as quickly. But from what I see, they look really, really fun. The Disciples of Tzeentch in particular really caught my eye with some of their more unique Army of Renown stuff that they got going on. For example, never before in the game have you been able to articulate rules-wise the cultist uprising that is so often described in these things. Man, I'm trying to help my autofocus, like, really make it easy, but it's just not feeling it today. It'll get better once it can start picking up some color. I think that'll help it quite a bit. But yes, this guy, if you are unfamiliar with Conquest, this army, the Euroni, is essentially demons, but they hijacked a human ethos, religion, belief system to kind of make their forms more concrete, like to give them a substance and something to cling to. And it happens to be like a Japanese tradition type demon, that art style. They hijacked all of that kind of a deal. Hence their appearance, but they are some of the coolest looking models out there because it's just the demons. It's just demons. Which, quite frankly, makes it a lot more fun. As for Disciples of Tzeentch stuff I was talking about a second ago, you know, it's one of those books. It didn't make me want to start a Tzeentch army, which, quite frankly, for my wallet is good. That said, it did make me really, really happy for Tzeentch players. I don't know anything competitive-wise, if that's your jam. I don't know if you'll enjoy the book. Don't know anything about that. But from simply like a role-playing and storytelling, oh yeah, just being able to tell the uprising story within a city versus, you know, a full standing army at the gates. I love it. I feel that way with the Nurgle book too, where it's like they took the armies over now and as a chance to kind of go through all the different iterations of what Nurgle has been. And I feel like with the Tzeentch one, they added in some new ones, and that was a welcome change. Try my best with this freaking camera. I just turned off the autofocus because it's just not working for me today. That's alright. I would love to know if you are working on anything or painting up any miniatures today. What are you painting? It doesn't have to be for any kind of wargaming thing. I would just love to know. For me, it is just this and Necromunda today, which I will be getting to in just a second, because these guys will need time to dry. I like him. I'm thinking of giving him a like a bright red coat. We'll go a little dark with the green scales. I don't want him to look Santa-like, but he should have some presence, you know, maybe gold on the inside of the coat there. Some cool details. We'll let him dry and we'll come around to those. For these guys, I need to make some decisions about their look. One of the things I saw online that I actually really, really liked was this scheme where they put brown under armor, or undergarb, and then black on the carapace, like the actual armored parts, and built it up from there. It looks cool. One I also really like is steel. You do steel on all the armor bits, and then you can do rust effects on top of them. So I think I'm going to do that, because that sounds cool. So to do that, I'm actually going to start with the pantaloons. Let's see. Ooh, forgive me, I turned my mic off. I almost blew my own eardrums out sneezing. Let's see, Black Templar. Here we go. Alright. At some point I need to get back to my Nurgle army. I have not touched them in some bit. And for now, I'm really just focused on, like I said, boots and pants. Let's see, I'm getting a whole bunch. Oh, looks like my chat got pushed to the side here. Getting a whole bunch of Skaven put together, so no painting today, I'm afraid. But building is... I find building harder than painting, if I'm honest with you. I find that when I sit down to paint, I can get more accomplished, and at the end of it, I feel like after an hour of painting, I feel like I've done more than an hour of building. Which is important, that you kind of get that little emotional bump, you know? Yeah, okay, I'm just looking over at the model, seeing what parts I need to paint. I think I'm good with the boots. But there's lots to do in the near future. Oh yeah, if you're building Skaven, that means you're going to be spending a while painting Skaven. Are you a batch painter? I remember I sat down and in one batch I painted 60 plague monks. And I never wanted to look at the army again after that. That was a bad move. That was a terrible decision. I way overdid it. Suffered the consequences. Realized immediately that this was a bad idea, and I've never done it again. I haven't painted Skaven since, but in terms of like the real lesson was just overloading my capacity to batch paint. I think before then the biggest I had done was 40 Savage Orcs, back when that was still an army. But yeah, the Plague Rats kind of took the cake as far as sucking the life out of me. With Skaven, you kind of have to be... You know, see, you and I might think that, but I have met many a people who... You know, maybe have 8 painted models in their army, which is that's not a complaint. It's more just that, like, when you ask them, "Oh yeah, how are you seeing this army come together or whatever?" and they want to paint themselves, and they are very exacting. A lot of the heresy guys here locally are that way, where it's like you letting perfect be the enemy of good, and it hurts you with the tabletop scores, kind of a thing when nothing's painted. Yeah, if that matters to you, but it did to them, so. But yes, I met a fair few of people who they'll go one rat at a time. They're like, I bought it. This is my hobby time and my money, and the slower I go, the more value I get for my hobby dollar. And I'm like, that's rad. You do that. I'm gonna go take my painted army to this event. Oh, okay. You know, I love that that's a value in the way that some people look at their hobby dollars, but yeah, I want to go have fun with these things. Let's get them out there. Especially with the Spearhead magazine coming out. Do I want a horde of cheap clan rats? Yes. Do I want to paint a horde of cheap clan rats? I do not. I haven't seen, because I know that they're doing a new one. I think the last edition wasn't that the Cruel Boys, and then it kind of expanded into some Gloomspite stuff. I haven't seen this year's. But yeah, I'm assuming it's Stormcast and Skaven armies. I've considered jumping into that magazine just to do reviews. You know, like Goonhammer does them, but I think doing them with people could be really cool and beneficial. Where it's like, hey, you know, we're starting this army. Here we go. I could probably get some of the kits sent over. You can pay for them and then have them come, like, to get you caught up. So if there's like a specific, you know, edition or point I want to start, I can. But I would probably just start from the beginning and pay on. I don't know. It's hard. It's hard when the options are a horde army and an elite army, and not much in between. Of course, you know, you and I know that we can build different kinds of AOS armies, but if you're just jumping in, you don't necessarily know that. You see Skaven, you think lots of guys. You see Stormcast, you think just a few. And you're not wrong. Alright. We got some dark silver here. Multiple spearheads. Think over the run. Interesting. Okay. I mean, I don't know if I would like that. I kind of like the idea of, like, by the end of this, you will have a full army. You are a full collection of something. I'm less interested in collecting a bunch of random spearheads. However, I know that a lot of folks love it, and I like that they're trying different things with the magazine, right? It certainly adds value to adding, to being able to sell previous issues. Because maybe someone jumps on, they're like, oh, I want this Skaven one, and they already did that. I'm like, okay, well then you can back order an issue. I'm like, well that's good for the whole bottom line. Hopefully gives them some good, clear sales data. Handy for bulking out with extra units for cheap though. Oh, absolutely. Yes. I always tell folks, you know, when it comes to any boxes, Spearhead boxes especially, but literally any GW product where they put multiple models into a thing and then kind of have the price be dependent on that. Just like, listen, if you like every single model in this box, this is a great deal. If you don't want every single model in this box, it starts getting a little hand-wavy as to how much of a value it is, depending on the model and all that kind of stuff. So if you like it, snag it, bro. Like, that's basically what the lesson comes down to, is like, don't worry if it's a great deal. Do you want the models in there? Yeah, then it is. He's looking very, very dark right now because I got a dark brown and a dark silver on top of a black base. However, when I start picking out the armor with rust and stuff like that, and we get some other pouches in there, and then I am going to do I think a yellow to kind of break up the armor a little bit. They got these cool little patches or whatever. I think it's yellow in the box art too. Do something to add a splash of color. Yeah, those Hatchet magazines helped me fill out my KO army. Sweet. I love that. I haven't heard a single thing about KO in this edition. I would love to hear opinions if you have any. But that's always one of those armies that interests me simply because of how different it is from the other ones, where it's like, you look at a set of rules and I think about how it affects my army, and then always my next thought is, how do Sons of Behemoth players feel about this? And it's usually not good. Whatever it is, because it's just a hard thing to design the game around, right? 5 dudes. KO are like that. Like, okay, but how do those guys win this? Then again, I also have not been following a whole lot on the current season GHB. It seems like the local competitive group kind of got tired of it, and they kind of switched around to some other things. But they hit it really hard early on, so I'm not surprised. So yeah, my plan is to put down the silver, go back with some browns, and then I'm going to build up with oranges and ochres and stuff like that to add some rust effects and make them look real grody. Because to me, I got these guys because I wanted to play the bad zone Palanite guys who are basically corrupt cops or pre-saints that have dissolved, and it's just the officers who are left there that essentially form their own gang. They just have cool hardware. That's kind of what I wanted to do and so I was kind of hoping to make them look a little rough, because to me, the thesis statement of Necromunda, that all things must bend around, is that the elevator pitch is a bunch of dirt people kill each other over basically nothing, which is essentially what the game is about. So I need to make him look dirty. Sweet. Alright, okay. I keep looking at the wrong screen. I moved everything around when I set up a new PC, so I keep looking around at different parts. Like, I'm not working off that screen, Doug. That's why nothing's moving. Oh, okay. I'm thinking there is a event in the Midwest that I've talked about on my channel quite a bit. I'm thinking about going to it this year. Holy Havoc. It is in June, I think. I always get the names confused. There's Holy Havoc and Holy Wars, and they kind of became the same style of event, and I can't remember which is which. But I got invited to one of the Holies. And I'm strongly considering trying to find a partner in painting up my 1K of Nurgle. But I haven't quite decided what I want to do with them yet. So I'm keeping the John Blanche red and yellow style. If you haven't seen my Nurgle, I just did a few models when it got released. And I painted them up in the red and yellow John Blanche Carnival of Chaos style. And they look great. The only thing I don't like about them is the bases. I painted the bases red because I was trying to appeal to a John Blanche style. However, it's like red earth bases, because if you look at his art, typically the earth is red. It just doesn't let the models pop off the base though, because they are also red. So I need to go back and darken down the bases so that the bright reds and yellows of the models pop off. Visually, there's a little more distinction. But aside from that, I'm actually very happy with the way they have all been turning out. So I'm gonna go add to those, and I might see about getting a partner to a narrative event. That was still where I had one of my favorite narrative experiences, which was a Flesh Eater Courts team handed me a scroll that just had blood scribbles all over it. And he was obviously waiting for me to react to it, and so I didn't. I just very calmly slid it right back to him. I said, "We cannot negotiate with these demands." And he just about fell out of his seat laughing, because everybody else just was like, "What are you doing?" And they didn't get the Flesh Eater Court joke of they're frickin' insane. So I read it as if, oh yeah, I could read this. This is perfectly reasonable. I was also playing Flesh Eater Court, so they had a ball with that. But that's also Steve Herner, and it supports I think it's pronounced Hesed or Hesed House. Basically helping get folks and families off the streets. I think in the greater Chicago area. I'm not quite sure what their scope is of the business there, but it's a very good cause. I love those events because you can essentially donate to cheat-ish. Like, it's not cheating. It's not. It's in the event rule, so it's not cheating. But essentially, when you get there, you can donate. I think it's either 10 or 20 bucks to this donation center, and they give you a die, and the die has a special icon for that year's Holy Havoc on it, like it's a special color or something like that. And basically, throughout the event, anytime you roll something really crappy, once per game, you can take that die and roll it and re-roll it. And so that's what essentially we were doing. You're incentivizing, you know, every dice of fate is a fate dice if you just donate enough to stop homelessness, which is a scheme that I am here for. Like a Tzeentchian fate dice. Hello. Got Etherwolf. The casters would love to hang out and chat. Let me know what you're working on in the comments. Oh. Heard a big bang from my wife's office next door, but she's fine. I heard a faint. Good. So we are just here hanging out. I am painting up some Necromunda. Yeah, let's actually get a little bit in. There we go. Now we're not so zoomed out on everything. And you can see all my mistakes. Oh wow, this guy's got all buckles and patches. He's got tactical packets and pockets up to his nipples, man. He's just got these 3, like, I don't know, little ammo satchels on his chest. Like a dollar store bandolier. I love it. This will be maybe my 3rd time doing Necromunda. No, second. I had 2 gangs in the last time, but I only played the once. I was in a campaign in the greater Seattle area right when COVID hit. And Washington was the first state to do lockdowns, so it got shut down pretty quick. But I did have an immense amount of fun. At the time, I was playing my Escher. And unfortunately, they got destroyed when we moved back to the Midwest. So, had to start over there. But, decided to jump into something a little different here with the Palanite Enforcers. I've never been the good guy, so I decided to play the Bad Zone Enforcers, who are the good guy models, except they use bad guy rules. Like, yeah, I mean, good guy is already a suspect term in most of 40k. This is no exception. But, you know, I don't want to play the cops. In a game where everyone is just a ganger and trying to kill each other. I want to be like them. Although definitely one could argue they're just another gang. They're just the top of the food chains gang. Let's see. Excuse me. Did you hear about the Fire Slayer? Update rumors. I hope it's true. I mean, I've been hearing rumors for a while. I mean, when I say a while, I mean multiple years about Fire Slayers. What are these ones? I have not heard a specific recent rumor, other than people saying like they wish that they would get combined with KO or something like that. You know, some people like that idea, some people not really. But I haven't heard of any like specifically recent rumors. I would love to though. While you're typing them out. For me, if I was given control and they were like, Doug, we don't know what to do with Fire Slayers. We have no one else to turn to. Help us. Obi Griggs Kenobi, you're the only hope we have, right? And that's me. I don't think that I would combine them with anything else. I like the identity that Fire Slayers versus KO have, both in relation to other factions and each other. I think what I would do is look at the Armies of Renown style and really lean into, I think in the next battle tome, the more mercenary aspect of the Fire Slayers. Give us some mercenary companies. That would be cool and thematic to send out. I mean, I think the army is just desperate for models. It just does not have enough of profile spread to warrant all of this, but I don't think the answer is just combining it with a different army. $2020 got me back into Warhammer. Had picked up the first issue of Mortal Realms. It was $2.99 for 10 chain rasps and a couple of Stormcast, and it was intriguing enough to pull me in. Oh, that's a great story. Lockdown was when I was able to go full-time because everyone was trapped at home watching videos. And ironically, I worked in the medical industry and was not allowed to stay home. So I was like going and working every day and then coming home and crushing YouTube videos and seeing success happen. Just because too many people got stuck at home to watch it. You're all trapped in here with me. Now let's talk about Refresh and a combination with regular dwarves. Oh, like the Cities of Sigmar dwarves. Okay. I will say, I'm much more interested in that. I think the KO have so much of a unique theme and a background regarding their, even just their perceptions of deities in a, a world where gods walk around and stuff like that. I think that is unique. But Cities of Sigmar, I am here for. Actually, it's a tough one because I would love for the Fire Slayers to gain those abilities or those units to their roster, and I would be very sad for Cities players to lose them. And I don't know how to feel about those two feelings at the same time. The reason is, it's clear very abundantly that the most popular sub-faction of Cities is humans. Partially because that's just what GW keeps promoting in the models and stuff like that. I guess one of the things I always appreciated about their background when they first introduced the idea of the cities is this idea that something so bad happened that all the fantasy tropes and species and races all had to sit down and figure out how to work together. Like it was that level, threat level midnight, if you will. And from that practical conversation of survivability came a new army and a new kind of army, and one that, like, when it goes places, they have a completely different view of elves, dwarves, and humans relating to one another than like people they find in the realms. I love that stuff. The all hands on deck, nature of the army I adore. So I don't necessarily want dwarves to go away. I would love it if they just kept, at minimum, incorporating them into the various designs. I don't know. Because I do think that some of those old dwarf units, like from the old world that kind of like have been filtered over, I do think some of them, I would like to see them in Fire Slayers. There's no two ways about it. Like some of the stuff, things like Thunderers, people who value craftsmanship, it seems like they would be a no-brainer to be like, oh, those guys have better, forges and stuff like that. Let's go over there. I don't know. If they gave him like 2 more kits of something besides just naked man with weapon, and also some of the kits from cities, let's not say all of them, but just a few, like, I think, oh man, that would be killer. Because it would immediately inflate the size of that army to a good level. Like, not in a inflation in a bad way. The only other issue is, to me, it seems like GW is not interested in moving classic fantasy battle models that port over from the old world into AOS. Remember, they made completely different cultists and stuff like that for the old world, even though we just got some killer ones for AOS. They just don't want the product lines to overlap. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's not so much that the units moved, it's that GW literally erased them, and then separately we have these cool dwarves that we're going to add and thematically say they moved one place. Like, I don't think the models necessarily will carry over. Like, obviously you can use whatever you want. Always use whatever you want. But in terms of like I just don't think it'll be the same sculpts ported over. I think they seem to be having a pattern of making everything different for no discernible reason. Oh, you got stuck by the new edition of 40k again? Absolutely. I actually have been smitten as well. So I started collecting Thousand Suns, and I was really having trouble because a lot of their stuff, a lot of it was just out of stock for a long time, like on their website. Just literally could not get it. And as I'm sitting there with all these models painted, but not enough to play a game, someone locally was getting rid of a... it was fully painted, but not to my standard, but well painted. Black Legion army. And so I did a pivot. I sold off my Thousand Suns, and I swapped to this Black Legion army, and I've been revamping units as I go. Just painting them up a little bit more and redoing the basing, stuff like that. And I'm having a blast. But I have not actually played a game with them yet, so I'm excited to do that at some point. I'm waiting for 4th Gothgol Hollow Book. Love the story, and it features a vampire. Oh, yes. I think I remember seeing the cover for that. Or, I mean, one of the books in the series. Did you ever read, I mean, I know you're excited for non-Neferata vampires, but I was curious, have you ever read Dominion of Bone? I really enjoyed that one. It's got to get all up on the turtle's feet. I wouldn't mind so long as they can be proxied. I've got some old world marauders to run as Dark Oath. They just seem to fit the aesthetic of the warriors more. Yeah, I get that. And I don't imagine they're going to make anything so, like, it seems to be across the two new forms of dwarf they've created. If they were like, hey, we're going to get rid of these cities kits and, you know, make a new kind of hammerer, I cannot fathom that the hammerers are going to be like utterly and completely incompatible with anything that already exists, simply because they seem pretty dedicated to the you know, dwarf size that they've registered now. So I don't know. I'm not worried about it. I think you could probably proxy plenty. Even I took some of the, what is it, the evil dwarves, the hellsmiths of Hashut, and put some of their bits onto some of the older dwarves, and they work out pretty well. They work perfectly for the new dwarves, KO and Fire Slayers. They were a little rough on the old battle for the pass dwarves who were trapped in an eternal lunging forward pose. Okay, I think... Oh no, this is part of his shirt too, I see. There we go. Perfect, just something to build up the red on later. Come back here to the middle. Hope GW invests more in developing maps of realms and their details. Map nerd. I love it. They did a big push in second. And I feel like they keep adding maps, which is great. They don't always do so like consistently. Like when they're talking about a war zone, sometimes it'll just be like the map of the realm or something like that. So I tend to agree. They seem very concerned with us fully exploring a world that they keep claiming is infinite. He's just got some coins on him. Let me snag those. Sweet. I'm gonna give him a second to dry. I'm gonna do like a gold and a brass on the rest of the little bits and bobs here. There's not actually a ton of extra bits on them, but I think really if I just focus on the coat and the scales and stuff, it'll really pop and look good. So I'm not terribly worried about that. Here we go, back with my Palanite boys. And I think... I'm going to go for some red. Starts with dark red. So we'll just blop that on the eyes and the main chest plate. And I'm going to come back later and clean up the... silver with a brighter silver and stuff. This is just a drop on the main colors. Oh, you know what just occurred to me? I'm doing... Never mind. I had to say, okay, we're going to wipe this off. It just occurred to me I am doing rust on these. So if I do too much too much red, meaning like, you know, for all the guys' armor and stuff like that, I need a color that will show better. Because the red... it will get drowned out in the oranges and the yellows and stuff like that. So that's okay. We're just going to cover that right back up. Hide our shame. Nothing to see here. Boom. Let's do yellow then. I don't like the idea of realms being infinite. Technically, they're not. They're not. They're just described as being so vastly big that they might as well be. Which, you know, I'm more okay with, but I would like to see more of the area kind of... You know, because theoretically, right, they've given us a continent for each realm. You just explore that. Just explore that and just say, hey, there's a whole bunch more. I would love to see maybe some outlines of like, yeah, we had some Uncharted crews or whatever go out here. Kind of saw something like this, and you know, just kind of give a general shape of a landmass. But then you can have that you know, be our little play around area and then have just a fully formed and realized location. Yeah, these guys are gonna look sick. I was never, you know, I feel like the realms are a lot less abstract than they were when they started. And I feel like Gur is probably the most explored as of now, simply because all the GHBs were set in various sub-districts of it. But, I mean, in terms of like us like having an understanding of the setting, that's actually not very much. I do like the opportunity to homebrew your own little corner. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's ultimately why they do it, right? Everyone can have their little corner. Someone once asked me if realm gates erupted in the old world, and now that whole setting from the old world just got a lot more, we'll say, accessible to different armies. So like now the Tomb Kings can go to Lustria without any, you know, narrative, real reason or whatever. You have more reasons for armies to fight. Someone asked if they had just added realm gates, do you think the old world would have stayed? I said, no, it definitely seems like they wanted to move away from rank and flank, at least for a bit. Yeah, I don't know. But I thought about that. I was like, well, that's interesting, because from that perspective, the only challenge was in getting armies to have motivation to fight, which it doesn't seem like they ever had a problem with, right? It seems like these guys have been punching each other in the face for the last 20 years, so... Gur has 6 continents. Yeah, that's a fair bit more than everybody else, right? And they have their own, what do you call it? Cubicle 7 support book. There's a whole book that's literally just events in Gur. If you wanted to have a campaign set there. Like, well, heck, that's a wealth of material that other locations don't have right there. Their own role-playing book setting? Yo. I remember the one that interested me the most as far as Gur goes is the Ice Continent. I think it was Antdor. I can't remember. But it was actually a location that was important to the Bone Splitters. Because there was a frost-based sub-faction of them that lived in the area, which I always thought was really funny. I never expected the most naked of orcs to come from the most cold of places, but here we are. I think they were the ones that really liked the boars. That's right, because they had like an albino boar that they worship. Man, it's been a while since I thought of that story. Greetings from the UK. Hey, hey! Thondia and Galay seem to... Yes, I can agree with that. Thondia mostly, I would probably say. Okay, good. Might wrap up once this guy is done and go take care of some house chores this fine Sunday. But laying down base colors is always the worst part of painting to me. And y'all have helped immensely get through some of that, especially on the Turtle Boy. And these guys I think are going to look sick. I might be wrong, but I think that Shyish is the largest. Oh, the largest realm? I can't say that I remember it being explicitly stated which one is the largest. That would make a great deal of sense to me, though. Just by the nature of its, it's created of so many afterlives. So of all the places that we've covered, all those people dying, creating new sections of Shyish over time, over centuries. I'm not opposed to that. It's probably worth saying. Sweet. All right, I got these guys all done. You can see we got some Polonite Enforcers moved ahead, and our Demon Turtle. We're looking good. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me today. I just got some painting done. I just felt like turning on the camera and having some fun with friends. So I hope you are all doing